Guten Tag, muckers. Hi, how are you doing? I am coming at you live from Berlin. I hope you're all doing really well. Okay, today's video is a compilation of these two videos that have been sent non-stop to me, and people have been asking me to blind react to them and give my honest opinion, which I'm going to give it to you. It involves Gypsy Rose, a very hot topic still on the internet, and I understand the context in which these videos are. I have not watched them in their entirety, but I have read the conversation that is going on, and there is a lot of people saying that Gypsy Rose is possibly going to be in trouble when it comes to the parole system because I read this on Reddit, but people are saying that Gypsy Rose could get in trouble with the parole because to get parole, you basically have to say, when you get out of prison, what are you going to do to change? Like, are you aware of your crimes? How do you grow from these? And then in interviews, Gypsy Rose is basically putting all the blame of everything that happened onto the ex-boyfriend, Nick. So a lot of people are saying that the parole might use this against her, or Nick might use this against her, that she's now like taking all the blame away from herself, and then Nick could be like, well, why is she doing this when she agreed she was a part of it? I'm intrigued to see what these two creators have to say. This first one is from this creator right here, Flawless Nina, and then this second one that we are going to get to is from this creator called I think Megan. Yeah, Megan. So we're gonna get to this one right after. But this is the one that people have been nonstop sending me, and it is about Gypsy Rose, possibly ending up in trouble in prison again or parole. Let's blind react together and let's give our opinions on it. I hope you're all doing well. Buckle up.
Gypsy Rose could end up back in trouble, and let me tell you why. She pled guilty to second-degree murder 8 years ago. She took this plea instead of going to court so that she only would have to spend 10 years in prison and she would have the possibility of parole after 8 years.
Which she got.
Which means after 8 years, she's eligible to go before the parole board and basically plead her case as to why she should be out. When you plead your case in front of a parole board, basically you're explaining to them what you've learned from your mistakes. You admit to your crime and you say how you're going to move on and make the best of your life. And essentially explaining how you are not a threat to society and you could basically...
Okay, I can see both points of view here. I automatically know what this creator is talking about, and it is on Gypsy Rose's kind of podcast, her that she's been doing, which is such a crazy statement. And by the way, I said this. I said that pretty soon people were going to start turning on Gypsy Rose, or people were going to start having a different opinion. This is what's happening. Like, people are set her up to be a fucking influencer, and now they're trying to, cancel her as an influencer. I'm not saying this creator, but I'm just saying in general, the conversation. I know what this person is talking about already because Gypsy Rose in all of these podcasts has been saying, I actually wasn't the one that did it. It was Nick that did it. Nick wanted to do it. I could never do something like that. And even on like The View, she was like, well, I would never consider myself that word, a murderer, because, technically under the law, I'm not. And actually, technically, it was only Nick that did it. And I would never have even done something like. So she, in court, 8 years ago, said that she was involved. It was equally her fault. And then she gets parole, by agreeing that, she understands her crime, blah, 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 to kind of come out to this newfound fame. And she's being thrown into these interviews where obviously questions aren't getting vetted by whoever her team is. And she's basically been obviously told to put all the blame on Nick, or maybe, is just doing that herself. But it's very likely that Nick's team, if he has one, or legal system, would be telling him, Gypsy Rose is doing this right now. We're going to ask for you to get parole, and use her words in these press statements, comparing them to what she said in court against her. I don't know who forced Gypsy Rose, whether it was her or her team or whatever, into this media storm, because we're already seeing backlash from her own words, from not being protected by the people against her. And again, I'm I'm so conflicted now to watch, this Lifetime show she's doing and stuff, because it's like, I've seen so many people be like, wow, like she got it exploited all this time. And, everyone's saying, oh, she gets her own show now, but they don't realize that she's being exploited by this new company. And it's like, damn. Anyway, I want to finish the rest of this. My nose is running. Sorry, it is so fucking cold in Berlin. Let me go grab a tissue. A tissue. All right. Wait, where's the tissues? Oh. Apparently there's no tissues, so I've just got to bring a fucking toilet roll. Woo! Should I do a show for you? That'd be so fun. All right.
Do better in this world after you committed your crime, and they should grant you this parole based off of the fact that you've learned your lesson, you have accepted your crime, and you are going to do better. Gypsy Rose went before the parole board and did this. And as she did this, she was granted parole.
Okay.
She was released out of prison December 28th of 2023. Now, in this clip...
If I was doing a quiz and the winning question was something about world history, I would lose. But if you ask me what date Gypsy Rose got released on parole, my hand on the buzzer, I got that. I've won.
Getting ready to show you is where Gypsy Rose has went wrong.
I don't associate myself as a murderer because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help. And how that conversation started was, he was saying that he would protect me from anyone. I said anyone. He said yes. I said even my mother. He said yes. And then the plan kind of formed from there. But he's the one that did the actual kill, not me. I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble to begin with, because he's the one that did it. So when they say I'm a merc.
Okay. I saw her on this podcast and I wanted to react to it, but I started to watch it and I went, listen, everything technically she's saying is true. She didn't do it and all like this, but it is going against a lot of what she said in that original court hearing 8 years ago. And I understand the reasoning for it because in a weird way, whoever is behind the Gypsy Rose media train is trying their best to make the most amount of money off of her. So they're trying to push her in this more favorable way than Gypsy Rose, the murderer, but Gypsy Rose, the person who was a little bit involved in a murder. Like, that is more... Oof. I do think that Nick's team are going to use these words against her, which is unfortunate, but...
I don't identify as that.
So after being released from prison, she's basically saying, well, I really pled guilty to this charge, but I don't think I was guilty. And Nicholas was, or is guilty, rather. So she's essentially telling the parole board right now that, yes, I know that I said that I committed this crime, and I know that I said that I would be a better person, and I have learned from this crime. But you know what? I've decided that I didn't commit this crime, and I'm not guilty of it. And in my opinion, where she...
And again, I can understand Gypsy Rose genuinely doing this from a point of view of, I can understand her point of view and the reasoning she's saying these things. However, there's very clearly no one behind her that is advising her on how these things can be perceived or used against her in the form of a court. I don't know why no one is advising her. Again, she could deeply feel these ways, and that is completely valid, but to verbally say them and go on the record with them is something that will probably be used against her, which is why she needs to not be... Who is making our girl do all these interviews? Oh my god, it's not gonna turn out good. It's not already.
Went wrong is coming out and making all these interviews and having this docuseries and signing up for this new reality TV show. And,
And by the way, you know that I'm the most pro Gypsy Rose Blanchard person ever. But all I'm saying is I agree with this creator that this is not necessarily something you want to be, putting down on record.
Going all over the country, doing these interviews with these news stations, it was a bad idea. Now, if I was Gypsy's friend, what I would have advised her to do was to do one interview when she got out. In that one interview that I would have told her to do, I would have told her to state her crime and basically say she's not trying to rehash the past. She knows that she's guilty of this crime and she's trying to move forward in a positive direction, and she really doesn't anticipate doing any other interviews at this moment. That would have kind of let the media know and everybody else know she was going to lay low. Rather than coming out immediately and going for like publicity and fame, it's not really a good idea considering she's still on parole. And in this interview, if the media would have asked her anything about Nicholas Godejohn, what she should have said is, I wish we would have done things differently. Unfortunately, we didn't, and here we are, and we've had to pay for our mistakes, and left it at that. Anything else that they had to ask, I would have told her to just state she didn't want to rehash the past. That way, she was taking accountability for setting Nicholas up to it, and basically stated that she wished things would have been different, and she moved on. Very simple. Now Nicholas Godejohn is...
I mean, this is quite possibly one of the first examples we've seen of someone coming out of prison and being one of the most, probably like the most famous person on the internet. So everyone is wanting to do these interviews. And again, there is probably a lot of money being made right now for everyone involved. So again, it's this rationale of like push. How much money can we get out of these podcasts, these interviews, these whatever. However, but in that process, it's easy to get a little bit sloppy with answers or questions not being approved. And then that can come back, especially if, like this person is saying, and it's actually a very good point, if one of the reasons you're getting parole is because you said that, you know, you admit your crimes, you want to move on and stuff, but you come out and that's not reflective, how does that look in the parole? And it's not like they would ever be like, Gypsy Rose, go back into jail. But Nick's team could use that and be like, well, what is this favoritism? Why is this person now saying they weren't involved in the crime, but you agreed that they were? Does that mean that Nick wasn't involved in the crime? You know, you can make all these like stupid analogies.
For an appeal. And I'm sure part of his appeal, he will be able to use...
Oh, Nick. Wait, Nick is doing an appeal?
Be able to use...
What?
Setting Nicholas up to it. And basically stated that she wished things would have been different, and she moved on. Very simple. Now Nicholas Godejohn is going for an appeal, and I'm sure part of his appeal, he will be able to use every word that she has.
Oh, so he is doing an appeal. Again, this is why these interviews aren't a great idea if they're not being thoroughly, like, looked at.
Out there in the media. And if you really listen,
they are being thoroughly looked at by Nicholas's team.
Both stories, his story sounds more likely. I could be wrong, but her story has changed. His story has stayed very consistent. He's like, this is what it is. And, you know, obviously he has autism and he is schizophrenic. And really, you know, he was manipulated. Regardless of if anyone thinks he was or not, he is autistic, and autistic people go from white or black. There is no in between, and he feels things 10 times harder than other people. So the fact that he felt like she was in danger, he felt like he needed to save her, and he did that. And from that point on, I would have stayed completely out of the media, out of harm's way. I would have played low with my new husband and mind my business. I would not have even gotten on social media. I would not have had a social media account, because obviously the parole board and her parole officer is able to see all of her social media and everything everyone else is saying about her on social media. Even if other people were speaking about her on social media, if she didn't say much, there would be nothing for anyone to go after and say, oh, well, she said this, and here's where I think she missed it. So now she has opened herself up to a ton of things. And at this point, I'm sure she has gotten some advice to lay low, because I don't know if you noticed, she hasn't really been making videos. She's posted a couple of pictures of her and her family, but she really hasn't done anything else other than that. Social media is also a blessing and a curse. And the reason why I say it's a blessing and a curse is because social media can help free someone, but it can also help prove why someone's lying, where everything's going to come out in the open on social media.
Okay, here's my thing on this. I am not engaging in any conversation that is in any way taking away anything from Gypsy Rose. It's not a conversation I am willing to have. I'm very supportive of Gypsy Rose, and I'm focusing the conversation solely on is this media situation with interviews and podcasts and stuff, will this be used against her? I mean, if Nick is already asking for whatever the word was, I mean, are they going to come after Gypsy Rose now? Like, again, I'm still very supportive of Gypsy Rose and her story completely. I'm Team Gypsy Rose. This shirt actually says I heart Gypsy Rose. No, but I fear that maybe even her husband, like, why is her husband not protecting her from telling her not to do these things where she's answering in these ways? Like, protect her, like, her family protect her, like, her husband protect her. Like, why is no one, she is so new to this world, like, I'm sure it's very exciting, all this money's being made, but, like, protect her so this doesn't turn into a situation that you can no longer handle. Like,
so essentially on social media, she has sort of trapped herself by saying things that she shouldn't have said. And also in this podcast, she originally did, a lot of people did not see this podcast until people were posting clips on social media. So had she had stayed out of like any podcasts, any interviews, anything like that, no one would be able to say she said anything, and that way everything would have been fine. Her laying low, she should lay low until she gets off parole. So this new reality TV show that she's doing, Prison Brides, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think the docuseries at this time was a good idea either. She's in a very pivotal moment in her life, getting out, and
that's also that's a great point. I mean, this is the first moment of freedom for her in probably her entire life, and for her new family and husband to be forcing her into these shows that were pre-organized and book deals that were already in place for her and podcasts every fucking day. Like, number one, do you not want her to, like, enjoy adjusting to real life? Like, it's crazy that she left prison and immediately entered this, like, fashion week, like, media week, like, podcast her. Like, there was no in between. And it's like, of course there's going to be error because she's being thrown into that. I just think it's an awful idea.
I wouldn't want anything to mess that up. Because think about it this way. If she gets violated by her parole, all this money she's making, who is she married to and who's going to get it? And she got released out of prison. Her whole mindset should have been, I need to play chess and not checkers. And everything should have been a strategy. And I don't feel like that was the case. Because one thing we all know is one wrong move at this point for a gypsy could knock her right off the chessboard. So she better be very, very, very careful. Anyway, I don't know what I think should happen, but I'm just hoping that kids that are watching this don't think that if their parents are doing anything that they don't agree with or is abuse, not to go get help and to kill them, because they'll find themselves in the same situation. Anyway, her speaking so casual about murder or her place or part in this is kind of concerning. Those are my reasons on why I think Gypsy Rose might find herself in trouble. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye for now.
Okay, I was going to watch another one after this, but I want to focus the conversation on this, actually. I think that's an interesting point as well, and I thought about that. I actually thought about that last night, where I was like, a majority of the people that watch these videos are on Gypsy Rose's side, right? And what she went through at the hands of Dee Dee, her mother, it's unfathomable, and something needed to happen to Dee Dee, because I always double down on this point where, like, Dee Dee was going to eventually kill Gypsy Rose. Like, she was eventually going to kill her, and I believe that, and a lot of people believe that. If Gypsy didn't kill her, she was going to kill her. You know what I mean? So, obviously, Dee Dee needed to have been in prison instead of Gypsy Rose. Like, Dee Dee needed to have done that. And that's not what happened. And obviously, we know what happened. And obviously there's reasons that happened. Unfortunately, as unfortunate that is, we're talking about someone losing their life here. But I did think about that last night where I was like, oh my God, there are children, as Cody Taylor would say, there are children online right now that are looking at this fame Gypsy Rose has got and being like, and they don't know the story, right? They don't know the length of the story. They don't know how long she was in prison for, how extreme all that is. And they're like, shit, they don't know the story. They go, my mom pisses me off. If I kill her, I'll go to prison and then I'll come out and be fucking famous. Like, what the fuck? Like, again, this is like the responsibility here, like, doesn't lie, I think, completely on Gypsy Rose. But this push of what's going on is crazy, actually, if you think about it. And again, I've been someone who's been involved in it, so it's so multi-layered. But it's like these really young kids are like, if they don't know the story, they don't understand the complexities, are seeing this person being like, she killed her mom because her mom was mean AF, and now she's famous and has all this money and is the most famous person. Like, okay, it's scary to think about, actually. It's scary to think about. Let me know your opinion. Let's talk about it down below. I appreciate you being here, and goodbye. Au revoir. No, that is French. Auf Wiedersehen. Is that how to say that? Hold on. How to say goodbye in German. Oh, I'm just not connected to the Wi-Fi. Hold on. Give me a moment to research this. How to say goodbye. What was it? Oh, that is not what. Alfie de Alfiedersen. Is that what I was saying? What does that mean? Alfiedersen. Alfiedersen. Used to express farewell. Alfieders. Is that what I was saying? Hold on. That is. Sorry. Alfiedersen. Google Translate. Google Translate.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen! Okay, it means an expression used to say goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen!